What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Art of Suffering podcast with Dalton Darnell. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Richard Boatwright from B1 Horsemanship. Me and Richard have been friends for a long time, but not near as long as him and Dad have been friends since he's so old. Had to throw that out there. Oh, man. I have known Richard since I was literally a kid. Him and Dad have been friends forever. They rode broncs together. They've doctored a pile of cattle together. And Richard has, over the years, started B1 Horsemanship, which is an educational website that has to do with, I'm going to let you explain that, because it's not just really horsemanship. It's basically everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything that we can get shot with a camera. It started out as instructional videos for employees. Mm-hmm. When I was at Creek Plantation, we had a lot of employees come and go, and most of them really didn't know what they were doing, and it was a big dynamic operation, and so I needed some way of training employees, where I didn't have to be right there with them all the time. So that's what we started shooting those videos to begin with, and then it just sort of morphed into B1. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I had no clue that's how that started. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, it got started with Low Country Cowboys. Mm-hmm. So the guy, Mark Alberton, that was the videographer behind Low Country Cowboys, taught me some about shooting video and audio and editing and stuff like that. And so I thought, well, gosh, this would be really handy, because I bought a couple of GoPros. I thought this would be really handy. I could shoot things and then just give it to the employees, and I wouldn't have to be right there with them all the time. Mm-hmm. The hitch in that is that nobody would watch it.
Oh, of course. Well, somebody's watching them now.
So, yeah. So then, and I saw something on, the internet somewhere. I can't remember who it was, but a guy was talking about how you make social media content. Mm-hmm. And he was talking more about, he said, you don't create content, you just document what you do. Mm-hmm. And he said it's a lot easier, and it's similar to the way you guys do it. You just shoot what you do, and then you try to explain as you go, Mm-hmm. And so I just started wearing a mic on everything that I did, whether we were, halter breaking weanlings, or vaccinating, or castrating colts, or doctoring cattle, or starting colts under saddle. Whatever it was I was doing that day, I would just get somebody to run my camera, mm-hmm. usually my kids at that time, and then I would wear a mic and we would just shoot it. And we started just filling up the website with that stuff, and it just took off.
Yeah,
I really can't explain why, but it did. So.
Well, we've had conversations over the years. It's funny, because Richard has a platform. He's got a YouTube channel. Go follow B1 Horsemanship, the Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok, the whole nine, just like we do. And he's been teaching people online for a number of years now. And one thing that we have battled together and had many discussions about is the old proverbial keyboard warrior. Mm. We love a keyboard warrior. And so I don't know if have you seen the 310 React series? Did you watch that video where I talk about that guy getting bucked off?
No.
Well, okay, so Dad and Abby are at Brandon. If you haven't seen the 310 React series, go watch it. It's really funny. They're at Brandon, and this dude's got this horse that is just kind of cold-backed or whatever. It's first time dragging to the fire. And he takes the calf to the fire, and old buddy goes to bucking, spinning around, tries to tangle him up in his rope, the whole nine. He loses his rope. He comes off. It's just as kosher as anything you've ever seen. And, buddy, these son of a guns went to whooping and riding on that keyboard in them comments. And I was just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I got to do the video. So I made a video of me watching it, and then taking all the stupid comments on the video and going through them one by one. Okay, this guy was said something about him spurring the crap out of the horse or something. And so I took this wicked bronc ride off of YouTube and was like, this is spurring. Okay. This is not spurring. This isn't spurring at all. This guy gets paid to spur. This guy, I think it was oh man, one of the Webster guys. Oh, maybe that's not his last name. Anyway, just let's dive in a little to your viewpoints on the at-home horse trainer, okay, that gets on your colt starting video and is like, you're doing it wrong.
Well, first of all, I want to say that you and I both spend way too much time engaging with these people because they
100%
live in our heads.
Just all under this hat.
We got to get over that because that's not productive. There's nothing positive going on there.
No, it's not. But that video is funny. And
I'm going to watch it. I wish you'd have told me about it. I would have watched it before the podcast.
Oh, it's freaking priceless.
Some of these morons, man, I swear. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get that. I really don't understand. I'm very grateful for the people that put positive comments and things up on social media. It's great because it's very encouraging because there's nothing like, having somebody giving you a little bit of encouragement, especially on a day when things aren't really going the way that you hope that they will go,
Oh, 100%.
A stranger coming up
like
on
every
there
day.
and saying, hey, man, we really appreciate what you do. It means the world. It really does. But, gosh, there are so many people on there that just get belligerent over nothing.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. The last guy I had on as a YouTuber from his channel's the Rubuck, Nevada guy. Mm-hmm. And he just puts up just working, just doctoring and his day working and stuff. And we kind of had this same conversation. He's just like, dude, these people have no idea what is going on.
Yeah.
And out of every 100 comments, there's like 4 that are like, who's
and
this
those
guy?
Are the ones that you focus.
I mean, you're just like, oh, my gosh, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm ever independently wealthy, so one of my favorite YouTube channels is called the DOD King. And it's a golf YouTube channel, okay? And what this guy does, he's this freaking redneck guy from West Virginia, okay? No, he's from Virginia. Hopefully he never sees this because he would probably be offended by that. But anyway, he's got a mullet, big, long mullet, but he's really handy at golf. And all he does is travel around the country and plays people in golf who talk smack to him on the internet. The whole series is called The War Against Weasels. And if I ever have enough money, all I'm going to do is drive around with my kids and beat the crap out of people at roping. Just show up at their house, put them in the pen. Let's go.
Dude, I've considered. So I was in Las Vegas during the NFR, and there's a guy out there. His handle is EM Horse on Facebook, and this guy he's off the chain. He's got no. He really doesn't have any. He doesn't have any business doing what he's doing but he's just a troll, really, is what he is. And I always got to look up people's profiles on that.
Oh, 100%. Oh,
at 4:30 in the morning, I'm in here like, geez,
sipping on the coffee, just like scrolling. Gosh, dang it! You got a halter on under your bridle. What? Come on.
So this guy's he's near Las Vegas. I saw him on his profile, and I really, really considered just stopping by out there. But again, totally unproductive.
Oh, it's just such a waste of time.
But
it's
it would be awesome
such a waste of time.
Up on his place.
Yes. I had a dude talking smack on, I put up a video on TikTok when I first started, on TikTok. And I threw a Contra, and I'm on Blaze. So Richard knows all of Dad's horses. You were probably there when they got off the trailer at his place.
Yeah.
Dad can literally doctor yearlings on this horse bridleless, Mm-hmm. Nothing on her head. And I throw a Contra off of her on this calf. And so I put the video up because it's freaking cool, Yeah. This dude gets on there and he's like, the reason you have to throw loops like that is because your horse isn't broke and you can't get him to stand where you want him to stand. I was like, I will come to your house right
That is
now.
hilarious, man.
I
You
mean,
gotta
come
admit,
on.
It's freaking hilarious.
Oh man, I was in like a 40 comment war with this guy. Just so pissed. And finally I was like, you can come here and rope with me any day, dude. I'm like,
He sucked you in, dude.
oh, he trolled me so hard. Oh, it's terrible. It's so funny, man. And see, back in the day, Dad would never see him unless I told him about him, because he doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, if you think you're talking to John on one of the social medias, you're probably not, unless it's his TikTok. It's either me or Abby usually. And so I'd got to where I'd tell him, you know, he'd get freaking livid. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. And this would be already after I like got mad.
You should be screenshotting them and texting them to him every day.
I'm telling you, dude. He would lose his freaking mind. It's so funny. Oh, it's such good times. Gotta love the keyboard warriors. So I did get a request, Richard, since you were coming on, and I'm gonna have Abby on next, and then I'm gonna have Dad on. So we're gonna have some perspectives here. But the request was that I have you explain what a Vaquero is and when you became one.
Oh,
This isn't your normal podcast here.
What's your audience like? How G-rated do we need to keep it?
I mean, we need to keep it G-rated, right? This is, you know, we talk about Jesus and getting hit where the sun don't shine, unfortunately. So it's real, though. That's the whole point.
Oh, that's a fact. And, you know, I can't tell you how many guys that I've worked with over the years that it's happened to.
Oh, dude! If it hasn't happened to you, it's gonna, because you just ain't done it enough yet.
Yeah. So so what I'll do is I'll tell you the story when it happened to me. It's happened to me twice, but the first time was epic. Yeah.
Do you not pray enough? What in the world? Like twice? That's a one-time thing there.
Well, yeah, you'd think. Yeah, that's just my MO.
And you got 4 kids.
Twice. Usually it takes 3 times. I hope to God it doesn't happen again. But
okay, start with the description of what the Vaquero is.
Okay, well, the Vaquero is when you got a big fat critter roped and you lose your rope and it runs around your horn so fast that the tail whips around and whacks you right where you don't want to be whacked. Right on the tip of where you don't want to be whacked.
Cartoon banana, baby.
Right. That's exactly what the first time it happened to me. It was a big old. It was like a, I don't know, 7-weight like longhorn steer, and they had just dehorned him. You know, he had like these nubs on either side, and I walked past him and sneak shot at him from about 6 or 8 foot off, and he's going the opposite way. You know,
is this at the creek?
No, this was with your dad at Park. Your dad was there. He watched.
Oh yes.
And this, I mean, when that rope came tight, that son of a gun took off like a rocket, dude. And I'm riding a colt, of course, in a hackamore, and I go to try to wheel him around, and I'm already about 10 steps behind. By the time I get faced up, I'm way behind, and so I'm stacking them on, just trying to get it, you know, and my rope's just going as fast as I couldn't get it stacked on fast enough. And before I knew it, the tail of that rope came out of my hand and it said, "Wow!" And I'm telling you, Dalton, I was convinced when that happened. I just looked up at your dad, and I know all the color drained out of my face. And I knew that when I looked at my pecker, it was going to look like the end of one of those exploding cigars. I just knew it. I knew it. I was convinced. I was scared to look in my underwear because it hurt so bad. You can imagine. I was running 200 miles an hour.
Oh, my gosh.
The accuracy that it does. I really don't.
Man.
Because two times, both times in the exact same spot.
Dude, you got to buy a new saddle. Get further off of that thing. You know what I mean? I mean, that is not good. See, Dad rides that Frecker, dude, and I can't even sit in it. All right. Now, I ain't saying I'm little, but I ain't necessarily a biggin neither, and I can't go to the horn in that thing. And the lady he bought it from said Pat Puckett rode it one time at a clinic she went to, and I don't know how he got in it because I can't hardly get in it.
Yeah, we joked about his belly button sweat being on the horn.
Yeah, that's why he roped so good. That's why he hadn't got Vaqueroed in that thing yet. Oh, my gosh. So funny, dude. Travis Newman, I'll have him on at some point, but I was doctoring yearlings with him down there, and he had it happen to him, but it didn't catch him in the old groin. It hit him right in the nipple. And that dude squealed. He squealed like a small child, okay? There was no skin on that thing through that freaking, that white tracing paper Wrangler shirt just took that thing smooth off of there. And he yipped like a little girl. It was so funny. Oh, my gosh, that is freaking great. Well, I'll tell you this. So I named the podcast The Art of Suffering because of arthritis and all the things that we talked about in previous episodes. But also I've come to a point in my life where I find people who are good at suffering, who have chosen to be good at suffering, to be very interesting to me. Because as in baseball, I was a catcher, and then in college I fished. And both of those things require a level of, personal torture, right? I'm literally subjecting myself to getting hit with baseballs. When it's raining or it's snowing, I'm going to go stand on a boat for 8 hours to try to beat these other guys, which doesn't make any sense. And one thing I've learned through cowboying is most every single cowboy I've met not only is good at suffering, but they freaking like it. Like, the worse it is, the more they want to do it. And so your experience doing this basically your entire life, what would you say is the mindset behind that?
It's so funny that you bring this up because, I do a weekly email, and this is exactly what my email is on this week. And I always think of that Gail Steger song, Moment in Time.
100%. Listen to it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That song...
The romance is gone.
Yeah. It's and the reason that I do it is for like days like today. Okay, so it's been miserable, cold and rainy, and it's just been a rough winter, and we haven't been able to get horses rode like we're supposed to, and it's just been hard all the way around. We've had some financial struggles and things, and all of a sudden today, the sun came out, and it was like 65 degrees. Mm-hmm. And the horses, everybody rode good, and the cattle were fresh, and they're jumping around, and everybody's in a good mood, and all that suffering, from November to today, made today just epic.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And that is such a metaphor for life, Dalton. It's like, if you don't suffer, then you don't know what life is really about. Because without the hard stuff, the easy stuff don't mean anything to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the draw for me. I've got a horse right now named Ike, and Ike, every time I get around Ike, he's trying to kick me. Like, he's already kicked me a couple times. He kicked me pretty good the other day. And
I saw that video. Dad sent me that video. Nasty.
Now, whenever I get around him, he's just got his leg cocked like he's ready. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to give up on Ike. I really considered it there for a while. But I know life has taught me that, well, first of all, I can see something in Ike. Now, if I didn't see anything there, then I wouldn't waste my time. Mm-hmm. But I see something in Ike that I know I can look and see the beginning from the end, and I know that there's going to be something there at the end. And so it's worth all the struggles, because I know when I actually am up there and that son of a gun's watching a cow, and he's just crawling around on his belly in front of that cow, I know that getting kicked is going to be worth it, and all this struggle that I go through with him is going to make it worth it. It's the same with fatherhood, definitely the same with marriage. I mean, marriage is I think a lot of, the best marriages come through the toughest times. Mm-hmm. I really think that a person has to be able to you gotta be able to handle the tough times in order to know when the good times even exist. How do you even know you're in a good time if you haven't suffered?
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And the depth of the suffering is exactly proportionate to the value of the success.
Mm-hmm.
Or the depth of the failure is proportionate to the value of the success, I should say.
Well, and that was, in the beginning of 310, the hope was to one day be able to get our own place and bring guys in and change their hearts through the work, through the suffering. You get in the trench with a fella, and that's what happened to me. That's how I became a believer. That's how I've been molded into who I am today, is working with people like you and Dad and all the people that we worked with over the years, and watching like real life. And that was the hope for 310. And so the podcast is an attempt to be able to do that with people from this chair, because I'm kind of bound to the chair a little bit. And it's been really neat, man. The people who've called, and I had a guy call yesterday, and he was like, you said in episode 2 that if you helped one guy, then it means something. And he's like, I'm the one guy. I just had to call and tell you. And I've had lots of calls like that. And it's pretty neat because, and my hope is, do you ever listen to Joe Rogan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Joe Rogan is a MMA guy, right? Yeah. He does the comedy stuff, but he has all these different kinds of people on his podcast that he doesn't know anything about. He just visits with them, Yeah. And that's kind of my hope for this, is you take any person out of their life and ask them about their suffering, it's going to be there.
Yeah.
It's going to be there. And what's funny is that as believers, and I think as men in particular, we fall into the trap of nobody gives a shit about your suffering.
Right.
No one cares, right? Shut up whining about it. Get up and get after it. Well, that's way easier to do when there's 5 guys with you getting up and getting after it too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so I think just recognizing the suffering, right? Because, see, I'm the kind of guy, if we're going to get up and gather a pasture in Wyoming, and that pasture is 12,000 acres, and there's 2,500 head on it, and I'm about to ride my horse, who's a total dink for the first 2 hours of the day, 25 miles, I'm going to be the first one in the truck to be like, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm a realist in that way. Like, I'm going to say out loud, I'm going to do it with a bet with 110, but dang it, this is going to suck. and what's funny, and me and Dad are going to talk about this on his episode, is he is the opposite of that. Like, he doesn't want to hear that he doesn't want you to say it's going to suck. He wants to say it's just challenging. And when we worked together in Wyoming, I would say, bro, this is going to suck. And he would be like, no, it's just challenging. I mean, he was literally changing the perception for everyone in the truck, which I understand that. But I don't think that way. Like, I don't go to the gym and get underneath a 315-pound squat and go, this is just going to be challenging. I go, this is going to suck. Yeah. It's good for me, but it's going to suck, And so it's funny how, because if you watch guys who do this for a living, because I'll watch your videos, and there's stuff that happens to you in those videos that I'm like, I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't look fun to me. That looks like suffering. I don't want to do that, but you wake up every morning and that's what you do, and you like it.
Yeah. And I tell people this a lot. You have to learn to like it. Mm-hmm. It's funny because you're right. You and your dad are, your dad doesn't like to talk really at all. Mm-hmm. He just wants to go out and do the job, and we don't have a lot of conversation. Maybe afterwards, but But I have those conversations within myself. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a part of me that's saying this is going to suck, and the other part of me is saying, you shut up and get after it.
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
We're going to do this. You know, 4 a.m., running, hit the gym, get on the computer, then go to work.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, that's every day. And it's like, and I have to put my alarm clock on a table away from the bed so I can't hit snooze. So I have to get up and go over and just shut it off, and I get up and get moving. And I have those conversations with myself all the time. Shut up. Yeah, it's miserable outside. You got to go ride these horses that you don't like to ride. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are not fun to ride at all. And some days you don't want to shoot video. And there's a lot of things you don't want to do. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that you don't want to deal with. But
how do you think you developed that discipline in yourself? If you're telling a young man, this is how you're going to develop your discipline to be able to do what I do or something equally as hard, this is how you learn to suffer.
Dude, I don't know. I've always had that. Mm-hmm. I have. I've really only in recent years put it into a real rigid, disciplined routine. Mm-hmm. But like, I cowboy in the summer in Colorado. And so that routine is self-disciplining. Like you've got, you work from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. Like there's no room for, you can't quit, you can't cheat, there's no room for that. But like in the winter when I'm at home, I have to almost invent suffering for myself, or make myself, it's almost like if I don't, my mind gets, sorry, dude, we're in town.
No, you're good.
Can you hear
I'm
that?
in town too. Yeah, it's good though.
The dogs. No, I've got to, I get stir crazy. Mm-hmm. If I'm not like going at something all the time, full bore, I really get stir crazy. I get kind of ornery, I think. So
I'll tell you a funny story. So Christmas break comes. And for all of you who don't know this, I have a 6-year-old. His name's Wiley. He's freaking awesome. Big motor. Yeah. This guy gets it honest. He's got a big motor. So school's out. We're rotting on the couch for 3 days after school gets out, right? He's not doing nothing really. I'm going to work. And he's at home with mama chilling. Right. And my wife runs a business from home and all the things. So about 3 days into that, he starts getting up at night. We put him in the bed and he gets up. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? We're 6 years in. We know bedtime. We know the game. You know what I mean? Why are you getting out of the bed? To the point where it's like 2 and 3 times. It's like, okay, we're kind of passing the line of disrespectful here. If I tell you to get in the bed, get in the bed, Day 3. He comes out of that freaking bedroom, and I done told myself, it's like, I am going to smoke that fanny if that dude comes out of that bedroom. So he comes out of there crying, and he says, it's just so hard to go to sleep. And I was like, well, if I get up and lay on the couch all day, I can't go to sleep either. So the next day, he got up at 6 o'clock with me and went to work. And old son went right to bed when we got home. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. And it's like, I told my wife, I was like, this kid is just like me. He's just 6, doesn't control his sleeping hours, right? Because if I lay on the couch all day, I'm staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning. It's just what I'm going to do. I just can't go to bed. And so it's funny how, and on the way to work, he's crying. He's like, I don't want to go to work. I was like, I promise you, you want to go to work. I promise. You don't know yet, but you do, just how those, as a father, okay, for the fathers out there, your kids are going to emulate you, okay? And if you know that you got a big motor and you got to go, they're going to be the same way. Take them with you. Yeah. Teach them how to work. You know what I mean? And I don't care what you do. And if your job won't let your kid come, I don't know, get a new freaking job. Because I won't do it. Like I quit working at the preconditioning yard when Wiley was born. Yeah. because he's the reason it matters, you know. And I was working for nothing, and I wasn't going to give it to some lady to take care of my kid every day when I could totally do it. And so I want to encourage you guys as a dad to recognize that all the crap that you have in you that you don't like or you struggle with, 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to say 10 out of 10 times, your kid's going to have the same thing.
Yeah.
And what's funny is Dad told me that when I was, I don't know, man, while he was probably 2, he was standing there screaming. Like, big emotions, this kid, big emotions. And Dad was like, you know why he's screaming, right? I was like, no, why? He was like, because he's got the same emotions you do, and you don't even know how to deal with those. So how's he supposed to, you know? And ever since he said that to me, I was like, well, maybe I need to look at it that way instead of just getting mad. He's screaming or won't go to bed, you know?
Yeah, and a 2-year-old doesn't have the benefit of effective communication.
Nothing.
They can't say exactly what's bothering them.
Screaming.
You know, when Caroline was 2 and 3, before she, well, let's just say before she learned how to talk real good, she would get so frustrated and she would throw these fits. And I would watch her, and after a while I realized why she was getting so frustrated, because she was trying to say something and she couldn't say it. Something was bugging her, but she couldn't express herself, right? And she didn't feel like she was being heard either. She just, because the way we always react to a kid or the way we deal with them is just, you know, you're being bad, which isn't proper.
Or the case usually.
Right. It's not the case. It's almost never the case. I mean, it's like blaming a horse for being stubborn. Horses aren't stubborn. There's only 3 reasons why a horse won't do something. Either he's distracted, he doesn't understand, or he physically can't do what he's being asked to do. And it's the same for a kid, 9 times out of 10. Typically, when kids go through issues and problems as a teenager, it's because they're distracted by the outside world. It's because something else is going on that's influencing them, and they're bringing that home and challenging mom and dad with it. It's amazing because we homeschool Mac and Caroline now, and knock on wood, they're 13 and 14, and we just haven't had any issues. And a big part of that, a big part of the success that we're having now is something that like what you were saying, is you've got to keep them active. You know, they've got to stay physically active. You can't let them sit around all day and eat junk food and stay on social media and expect them to, you know, stay in a kennel at night. You know, it's like a border collie. You can't let a border collie live in an apartment building. It ain't going to work. No. You know, they've got to have physical activity. Me personally, I know, like I was saying before, if I don't work myself to physical exhaustion every day, I become something else. I'm unlivable. I can't sleep. I can't deal with people. You know, I need to have that physical exhaustion every night to lay my head down on the pillow and just say, and go to sleep. I mean, that's heaven for me.
Well, that's what in episode, I think it's 6. That's what I talk about is, you know, 1, learning to do things you don't want to freaking do, and that laziness is a literal disease that will rot your family to its core.
That's a fact. 100%.
Your freaking wife doesn't want to be married to some fat, lazy person.
It's a fact.
Write it on your mirror.
Right.
I mean, dude, who would?
Yeah.
Who would want to be married to somebody who's just sorry? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, imagine working 40 hours a week and being like, I'm done. There's way more hours in the week, home slice. Take the trash out.
And what are you bringing to the table? You know, if you're the man of the family, what are you bringing to the table?
Period. It's got to be more than money. Money ain't it.
That's right. And the house doesn't need more estrogen. You got to have some testosterone in there. You really have to bring that. Women, whether they can vocalize that or not, they need it. And they want that. And the reason they want it is because it's a balance. It's not a patriarchal thing. It's not a domination thing. It's a healthy balance of male energy and female energy, you know, and you gotta bring that. I mean,
100%. And let me be crystal clear to everybody listening. I'm not making fun of you for being fat. I'm not saying that I haven't been fat. What I am doing is holding you accountable. If you're here with us right now, you're with a group of men that hold one another accountable. And that's what men should do. I should not tolerate your laziness. If you're my friend and I see you slacking on your wife and your kids, it's my job as your brother and a fellow warrior of the king to say, get off your freaking butt. Do your job better. Me and Daryl talk about it every freaking week, dude. Every week. It's either me slacking or him slacking. And it's the other one going, freaking get after it. Like my general rule of thumb is I need to outwork my wife by 10.
Yeah, sure.
That's what I try to do, is hustle around that woman because she's a gift and deserves that. And Daryl is the same way. And so don't listen to me saying that in a way that's like, oh, he hates fat people. That's not the case. Laziness will ruin your life. Don't be lazy.
No doubt. No doubt. Show me someone that's upstanding and virtuous and that you can count on and that you want to spend time around and that truly brings significant value to your life that's chronically lazy.
Not that they don't exist, man. They don't exist. And
I'm not trying to turn this into a marketing ploy or a pitch or whatever, but B1, that's the name of our business is B1 because that's what we want. That's what we're called. That's our call. It's like Dalton, B1. Mm-hmm. What is that to you? When I say Dalton, B1, you think be the man that I know that I should be one of those men, right?
Yes.
And that's what that call is. It's be dependable, be hardworking, be courageous, exercise moderation, love for your neighbor, love for your family, love for God, holding up all of the righteous, virtuous things that we put up onto a pedestal that we can't necessarily, we never can achieve it and do it every day. None of us do. Mm-hmm. But it's you're calling yourself, I want to be one of those guys. Mm-hmm. I want to be one. Because I named it that because that's what I want for myself. That's what I want to be. And I have these idealistic views or these images of these men that I've put up there, and I want to be one of those guys. Whether it's accurate or not, that's not important. Mm-hmm. Whether it's truly accurate of those individuals or not is not important. It's the idealistic reaching of, it's the image of Jesus is what it is. Mm-hmm. It's what a real man can be and should be. And so that's, I think about that probably way too much too. I mean, it's what drives me, mm-hmm. It's what fills me with guilt and shame. And then also gets me out of bed every morning and pushes me to be better. Yeah. And I go, and it ebbs and flows, man. Some seasons, like around Christmas and New Year's, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, I'm in the depth. Mm-hmm. I'm like the worst version of myself. Yeah. But then, a lot of the rest of the year, I feel like I'm really gaining ground, and I'm 53 years old. Mm-hmm. I feel like and when I say I'm gaining ground, I mean like I'm getting myself out of bed and I'm pushing myself every single day to do those things. And I don't mean to turn that into it's not about me.
No, I literally had no clue. That's why you named it that. I'm learning so much today. I mean, really, I had no idea that was the call. That's really cool, honestly. That's a heck of a mantra.
Well, I came up with, at the same time that I came up with the name, I came up with the logo or the slogan, which nobody, or the motto or whatever, which nobody's ever heard. But it goes, it's not just a brand, it's a command. Mm-hmm. Be one. Mm-hmm. Be what you want to be, And I don't mean that in a surface sense like, be a skydiver if you want to be a skydiver. That's not what it means. I mean, it means, because in order, when you boil all this down, if you want to be good at something, truly good, and I'm in the horsemanship business, the horse training business, so I'll apply it to that. So if I want to be really, really good with horses, that doesn't have anything to do with horses.
No. It's self-discipline.
It's self-discipline. It's making myself better. I have to be better at controlling my emotions. I have to keep myself conditioned physically so that I can respond quickly. I have to be focused and in the moment, which takes mental training. I have to be regimented in the way that I get myself and conduct myself every day. Mm-hmm. And then also there's all the other aspects of it. If I want to feed my family with it, I got to be good at dealing with people, and I got to kind of be good on the internet and on camera. And all of those things are disciplines, and it all takes, you have to train yourself. Mm-hmm. Nobody out there can do it for you. And if you don't accept that and accept it at its most base and core level and say, I'm not good enough to do what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Like, I have this image that's way out there of this guy that I want to be, right?
Yep.
It has emotional value. It has familial value. It has monetary value. It has all of these things encompassed with it. Like, I want to make X number of dollars. I want to be an X husband to my wife. I want to be ex-father to my kids. I want to be this successful with my business and really, really help people. Well, in order to do all of those things, there are all these incremental steps that I've got to take every single day to get there.
Yep.
And that goal is like ethereal, dude. It doesn't even exist. It's so far out there, it might as well be on Mars. But the steps that take me there, I can do those every day.
Yep.
And that is where the real value lies in anything. And they always say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And that's true, but you can't make that into a cliche. You've really got to drill down deep and say, okay, what does my journey look like?
Yeah.
You know, what kind of person do I want to be? And again, I fail, man, all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's constant failure and picking yourself back up and starting over again, over and over and over again. But it's the fact that you do get up and you do start over again, and you do keep that ideal man or that ideal person out there, and you keep striving for that. That's the real value of life. Accepting that responsibility is the real adventure and the real true value in life. It's not an experiencing the things of this world. It's accepting who you are and then striving to be the absolute best possible version of that individual. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that is the true the honing of a weapon or a warrior. I talk about being a warrior quite a bit on here because I truly believe that's what God asked us to be. And I think that term is not used enough because, and I know, you know, just from being your friend for so many years, the spiritual warfare that you have endured throughout your life, that's a very real thing. And for all of the men listening and women listening, if you're a woman, you don't win fights if you're not good at fighting. And the honing of your mind that I believe God uses basically everything that ever happens to you to chisel you into something that is usable. It is no different than taking that 2-year-old in the round pen and getting them ready to go outside. And then once they go outside, they thought the round pen was bad. And they have no clue what they're about to get asked to do. Yeah. And then over time, through miles and miles and miles, they get honed into a tool that is usable. And that is my goal as a believer, is to be a using horse, to be what God can walk in the pen, catch me, and we go do a job. And what it does for me, it makes the discipline and the suffering worth it. It's like this has purpose. This is for a reason. Like, I'm going to get asked to go do a job that I don't think I can do, and I'm going to have to be prepared, you know? And it's interesting to me because throughout life, you know, you fight these little battles here and there, and then lots of people have big battles, and it's real easy to get down. It's real easy to be like, oh my God, dude, just Smite me, oh mighty smiter. You know what I mean? Just take me home. I'm ready to be done.
Right.
And it's still the round pin. You haven't even come close to experiencing what God's going to ask you to walk through, you know? But if you approach it with the mindset of, I am going to be a freaking unit. I'm going to be one, right?
Right.
Then it's a totally different game. It's a totally different. It's fun. Yeah. The suffering is fun.
Yeah. Well, because you know it's for a reason. Mm-hmm. You know, and now you can, you know, and I'll tell you one of the most valuable things that I've ever done for myself is to be really conscious about keeping myself physically fit, going to the gym, running. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like when I'm unhealthy and I'm not taking care of myself, I'm eating crap food and maybe I'm drinking too much beer or whatever, I'm not ready. And I know it deep down. I'm not ready. But when I'm physically fit and I feel like I can, you know, I can take on challenges, even though it's completely diluted and maybe I can't really take on anything. It's just a confidence thing. You know what I mean? Dude, so much value in that. So much value. I wish I'd learned that when I was in my 20s.
I completely agree.
Because it's a life changer. You know, keeping yourself physically fit is just, well, you know what the value is.
Just do it. It's going to suck. Just do it anyway.
Right. It's forcing yourself. Well, you know, can I go down a deep, deep rabbit hole right here?
Yeah, let's go.
You know,
all the way, baby.
Strangest thoughts, dude. You know some of the crap I come up with. But so I'm convinced that the Trinity, the biblical Trinity, is parallel with the Trinity that lives within us. We have a Trinity that lives within us. We have a body, we have a mind, and we have a spirit. Mm-hmm. Right? The body is the slave to the mind, and the mind isn't necessarily a slave to anything unless the spirit takes control of it. Right? Mm-hmm. And a weak spirit won't take control of the mind. If you allow your mind to control you all of the time, well, you know, you're going to feed your body. That's what the body demands the mind to feed it. And so what you're going to do is you're going to live to feed that body, and you're going to live in fear and worry and misery, et cetera, et cetera. But when the spirit can take control of the mind, right, then the mind can take control of the body. When your spirit, when you allow the spirit to take over, then and it's not gonna come easy. It never comes easy because the mind and the body have their own agendas. But when you do that, then you have the conquering ability. You have ability to conquer. And I believe it was Aristotle said that the man that conquers himself has conquered the greatest battle because no enemy is stronger than the self. And this the truth. Once you conquer yourself, once you have true control over yourself, then you really have conquered the world. You really can take on anything at that point. Because self-discipline is what it's all about. And I really think that Trinity, the more I think about it, the more I think that's a parallel. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost parallel the spirit, the mind, and the body. I'm not exactly sure how that correlates yet. I'm still thinking on that. But I really believe that. I don't think that a person can do. I don't think that you think about the mind like a computer. The computer can't reprogram itself, right? Mm-hmm. So a person strictly living in their mind, if they're strictly living in mind and body, they can never come out of that paradigm of self. It's strictly going to be hedonistic. Everything is going to be hedonistic. Everything is going to be to satisfy oneself.
It's your flesh.
Yeah, it's the flesh.
You're just feeding the flesh.
The mind is there to take care of the flesh. That's right, to preserve the flesh. The spirit is not there to preserve the flesh. The spirit is there to conquer and guide the flesh, to use the flesh, to use the mind and the flesh for heavenly purposes. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, and again, I know this is a bunch of, this is so out there, but I think that that's true. It's true in myself. I can see those three entities, at play in my life. And here's
a question. Here's a question for you. How many times does your body go on autopilot as a man?
A lot of times.
A lot of times, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have any control over that, right? If you don't have any control over that, and see, that's that. Like, I understand what you're saying, because the way I control my mind from wandering into places it should not go, the way I use my mind to control my body from doing ridiculous things, right, is the spirit.
Right.
If the spirit is fed, it is strong enough to weaken all of those other things.
Yeah,
if you're soft to it.
How is it, if that's not true, how is it that you can be in the middle of something that you're consciously wanting to do? I want to go over there and eat that whole bowl of chocolate chip cookies, right? As an example. But there's something else in there that says you shouldn't do that. And you can call it conscience, you can call it whatever, but it's going to have to be something bigger than what lives inside your mind to take control over that urge, right? And it takes your mind to control your body in order to eat those cookies. But it's going to have to take something outside of your mind to take control of the whole deal.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't see how. I think it's contained in this vessel. You know, when I start thinking about that the term vessel, the biblical term vessel, just becomes like more and more like, man, it's just so significant. You know, it makes so much sense. But yeah, I don't see how else it could. I don't see how it could be anything else. From a spiritual perspective, I mean,
yeah, 100%.
You know, I mean, there's some scientists out there that say I'm full of it, and I'm sure most everybody else will say that too. But sometimes I think I'm full of it. But anyway, those are just my random.
Well, it's one of those things, man, where it's like, you know, I talk about this in a different episode as well. Like, I have to break things down to where my human mind can understand it. Okay, and I think God gives you that in a way to make it make sense, because you're talking about trying to understand the Almighty, okay? You're talking about trying to understand the creator of a universe, okay? Don't do that.
How can
Just
you?
read the book and just, you know, like, use it to create your weapons to defend against the strongholds the enemy tries to create. And we can use the cookie example, because that's a thing, right? But any person that is working on the internet nowadays, any person that has a phone, okay, knows what the enemy is trying to do to your marriage there, knows what the enemy is trying to do to your sons and your daughters, okay? These, like, you can't get on that freaking thing without seeing some stuff you ought not be seeing.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's funny because I read Paul or really any of the Bible, and I'm like, man, I wish you'd have been writing this today. Right. Because dang it, buddy, it is freaking everywhere. You hear me? Like, sexual immorality and the enemy trying to get a hold to you in that part of your brain, he is winning. Like, he is gaining ground on that in men's hearts left and right. And it is you want to talk about the spirit having to grab a hold to your mind and go, don't you even go there, son.
Right.
And I think it's one of those things where if you look at any of this, like, you can compare this to anything. Fighting this battle for your children and for your wife and for her honor, okay? This is a honed skill.
Sure.
This is something, it's no different. Like, it's really easy for me not to go eat a bowl of cookies. Mostly because it makes you feel like garbage right afterwards. You know, when you're 10, it's different. But these things here, this is the kind of stuff me and Daryl talk about almost every day, which I will definitely have him on. It's like, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It is everything that we do, because me and Daryl are both video editors by trade. So we're on the computer, we're on our phones, we're editing videos. You go to Instagram to post something, and here's some lady's big old butt. And you're like, why is that even there? You know what I'm saying? I got all the things turned off. I got it on the most unsensitive content or what. I have all the things. And there's this lady's butt. Like, what is that? And you got to scroll past it and just go, Lord, why? Why is that? You know? And it's because the enemy wants to destroy you.
Yeah.
He wants to kill you. He wants to kill your family. He wants your sons to see it. He wants your sons to see it on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
And he's freaking good at it. And so we have to be good at it. We have to sharpen the spirit to control the mind, to keep the body under control. Because the body, if you're a man, you know, it's coming. It's middle of the day, out of nowhere, there you are, having problems, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous. I don't know why God designed it that way. That's going to be in my first coffee conversation with Jesus. Like, hey, man, what's up with that? Like,
yeah.
Did we really have to do that? You know, I mean, you came down here. We couldn't have nixed that once you got back to heaven. Like, hey, God, this is a real problem.
You created it. Why couldn't we set it up a little bit better?
Come on, man. Hey, and you came down and experienced it, okay? You troubleshooted the whole thing.
Right.
Oh, it was freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
You got the fam jam coming home?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. The dogs are raising. It's probably Amazon delivering something.
Hey, it wouldn't be a ranch hand podcast without some freaking dogs yapping in the back.
Dude,
Go get your BB gun and shoot one.
Pack of mongrels out here, I swear. Our neighbors love us. We moved to town. We've never lived, you know, I've never lived in town. One time in high school, I lived in town, but it's funny. We live right in town now. We got a big old bunch of dogs and broke down cars. And
Do you eat out too much?
What's that?
Do you eat out too much now?
No, not really. I rarely.
Oh, the discipline.
Yeah.
The discipline.
I don't like to leave, man. I want to go to bed. I come home and go to bed. So.
Oh, my goodness.
Actually, when we first moved, yeah, we would go out a couple times a week when we first got to town because we could literally walk, you know, to bars and restaurants and stuff down here. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's a different experience. I long for the ranch life, though, all winter long. I can't wait to get back to Colorado and get back to cowboying in the high country.
I completely understand. We
I'm sorry, Dalton. I don't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to catch one point before we moved on. The thing about keeping yourself sharp and training the spirit to control the mind is a daily thing.
Yes.
You know, and it starts when you get out of bed, and you have to do that every day. It starts with getting out of the bed. Mm-hmm. Like, if you can't get yourself out of bed, chances are you're behind the 8 ball already.
Yep.
It's just a simple fact of the matter. It's simple logistics. You know, if you hit snooze 6 times before you get out of bed, you know what? The body's already won.
Yep.
The body already won that battle today. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe you can pull it out. You know, maybe you can pull something out towards the end. But that's the way I see it. And I shouldn't be saying this for you. This is what I do for myself.
No, this is simple discipline. I mean, that when the alarm clock goes off, and once again, I snooze it, team. I lose all the time. But on the days I don't, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go, baby. We're winning today. Let's get it.
Right. It's not about winning every day. It's not about being David Goggins.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about recognizing, damn, I should have got up. You know,
yes.
I should get up and get moving, you know. And that is, where else can you start except with getting out of bed on time? You can't start before that. What, are you going to start while you're sleeping? That ain't going to happen, you know.
Yep.
So I think that you know, that's a huge first step, and it's probably the hardest one. It could very well be the hardest thing that you face all day. Mm-hmm. It really could, especially living in America the way we live now. Getting yourself out of bed at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, as soon as that alarm goes off, could very well be the toughest thing that you encounter all day, and you've already conquered
something.
You've already conquered something huge right there.
Yep.
You know. I value that, man, big time. That's why I put my alarm across the room so I had to get up.
No, I mean, that's a tactic. Write it down. you know?
Well, it builds that spirit. It builds the control, right? Because if you start off your day losing control, and it's like, now I got to catch up, you know?
Yes, 100%. I completely agree with that. And I want to say this again. It's the same thing as the if you're fat and quit being lazy comment earlier. We're not sitting here talking to you as two teachers who know. No. We are two failures on a path trying to do better. And we will not accomplish this perfection. Right. But there's great value in people who are willing to share failures, who are willing to say, there was a time in my life where I snoozed the crap out of that alarm clock every day, so I moved it across the room. Yeah. So I had to get out of bed. So if you're 18 years old and you can't get yourself out of the bed, try that one, right? So wisdom is the wise application of failure. If I can sit here at this freaking computer and talk with a man that I know is not only successful, but has failed countless times, and he's willing to share that with you, it's lessons learned, man. It's stuff that we can learn from Richard, or you can learn from me, or vice versa, that gets you further along down the road than we were when we were that age or in that stage in life. You know what I mean? So with all that being said, we don't want to take up too much of Richard's time. He's a very busy man. What are your goals, dude? What are your goals for B1? What are we looking like? Where do people find you?
Well, you can find us at B1Horsemanship.com, and then on all the socials, it's B1, the letter B, the number 1 Horsemanship. Pretty easy to find. We got some pretty cool projects that we're working on right now. A lot of roping videos, rope horse training videos, and colt starting videos, and we're just constantly adding new content all the time. My goals, we've already talked about my goals. I mean, I've got some financial goals and whatnot, but I mean, I really consider that stuff to be. I feel like, and I'm gonna blow this. I'm gonna paraphrase it. This is something that Jesus said. He's basically said, be the best man that you can be, and everything that you need and want will be added to you. That's the way I interpret that parable. He's talking about the lilies of the field. But the way that I like to see that is, okay, be the man that you shoot for that highest ideal man. And then all of these other things will come regardless. Now, and I heard one time, who was the guy, he's passed away now. Anyway, he was a preacher, and he had on those church radio stations, he had shows and stuff. I'll think of his name in a few minutes, but he said something like
Billy Graham?
No, it was he was from that era, but he was more of a teacher type, not a preacher. He had like educational things, and he did a lot of research and stuff. He did a lot of research on pornography at one time. But anyway, he said something to the effect of, we pray like God does exist, and we work like He doesn't. And that's kind of the way that I go at it. I try to start every day with a prayer, very specific things, focused on the man that I want to be and the things that I want to get done that day, and then I just go and I attack it. And along with that means giving up the success of it. Yeah. Not trying to control the success, but just trying to take those, one step each day toward that goal. And I think that all of that stuff, the financial and business stuff, the personal stuff, and then the family and broader human stuff, all goes into the same package.
Yeah.
It's all part of the same thing. So you just strive to do the very best that you can with all of that stuff, and then I think it all works out. At least that's my plan.
Well, even if it doesn't, we just keep pushing.
What other choice do you have?
You don't.
What other choice do you have? I mean, it's not like if you were to be lazy and sorry and hedonistic, that those things would come to you.
Yes.
And not only that, but you'd be laying on your deathbed going, I'll be damned. I can't believe I wasted my whole life.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing that I want. I don't want to be, I get plenty of what I want, because all I want to do is spend time with my family and ride good horses in beautiful country. Mm-hmm. Those two things, that's all I want. I don't really care about making a lot of money. Praise God. Thank you to my wife, especially, because she's the one that does all that stuff. You know, we're okay financially, but you know, it's the experiences that really have value with my family, and then riding them good horses.
What God made you to do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know,
as long as I
that's
can get
awesome.
that I'm good. So.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, guys, as always, I sure do appreciate you watching. Richard, I appreciate you coming on. Y'all go give Richard a follow on his YouTube channel, B1 Horsemanship, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the whole nine. Check out his website, b1horsemanship.com. If you're starting a colt, if you're teaching rope horses, really, if you're doing anything that we do, this is a fantastic resource to educate yourself and get more knowledge. Richard is a great hand. And there's a lot of value there at b1horsemanship.com. So go check that out. As always, we'll see you in the next video.